All right, we're back at it again. Practice exam number 10. 10 weeks we've been doing this. 10 weeks we've been going through Security Plus practice questions, going through and doing a deep dive, answering 5 questions. I feel like we've come a long way in the last 10 weeks, believe it or not. Kind of amping up it, getting a feedback from people that are taking the certification exam and going through and deciding to take it a little bit further down the road, a little bit more on the question mix, right? And that's really what we're trying to do today. We're trying to answer those 5 questions. Really kind of give you a sense of why the answer is the answer and help you pass that certification exam. That's really what we're trying to do today. Let's get into it. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. All right, question number 1. Which of the following techniques is used to prevent sensitive data from being displayed on a screen when a user is away from their desk? Starting off easy. Starting off a little bit easy with this one. What do you think? What do you think about this one? I know, some of you are probably like, thought he was going to make this easy or hard. I thought he was going to make this hard. And here he comes out with this easy question. Some people might find it easy. If you've been studying for a while, you probably found this easy. But if you don't know the acronyms, it could be a little bit more difficult. Or if you're going through and being like, I don't know. All right, let's answer this one. I feel like we've got enough time on this one. Remember, we only want to be spending 30 to 45 seconds. 30 to 45 seconds on these questions, especially these easy ones like this, right? So question number 1, which of the following techniques is used to prevent sensitive data from being displayed on a screen when a user is away from their desk? Well, I think we know it's not data loss prevention. I like data loss prevention. I really do. But here's the thing with DLP. DLP is never the best answer. It's never the best answer, okay? Does that mean that's never the right answer? No. What I'm saying is the best answer is usually a little bit more defined. And so when I see DLP on a question, I'm always looking for a better answer. Now, sometimes that better answer isn't there, right? Sometimes that better answer isn't there, and DLP is the second best answer. And when it is the second best answer, then it becomes the best answer available to us, right? But DLP is almost never the first answer. It's always the second best answer, never the first best answer, if that makes any sense. There's usually always a answer out there that's better. And in this case, there 100% is. I think we know it's not full disk encryption, right? Because we're talking about which of the following techniques is used to prevent sensitive data from being displayed. And FDE, full disk encryption, doesn't stop it from being displayed. That's data at rest, that's on the drive. Unless you have a really small magnifying glass, and I'm making a joke here, but a magnifying glass peering into the depths of a drive, I don't think you're going to be able to read it on the drive. And even then, it might be too small. Full disk encryption doesn't have anything to do with that. Right? So FDE, not going to be there. That means screen filter or screen timeout would be our best answers. Both of those are really good answers. However, there is one really good one. And here's where it comes into play. This is why it's D. It is D, right? Why is it D? Because it says when a user is away from their desk. It specifically annotates when a user is away from their desk, right? Meaning they're not there. That's where screen timeout would come into play. It times out after, 30 seconds, maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes of somebody not being there. It times out the screen, locks it. That's where a screen timeout comes into play. A screen filter is more used when I've got people off to the side, so that while I'm using the screen, they can't walk by from an angle and see what I'm typing, see what I'm doing. That's a screen filter. But the thought process is in there that if I'm not there, then people could still walk up to my desk and read my screen. That's where screen timeout comes into play. That's going to be our best answer. The answer is D. There we go. All right, question number 2. A security analyst receives an alert of a possible insider threat involving unauthorized access to sensitive documents. Which of the following steps should the analyst take to verify the alert? What do you think? We want to verify that alert. Remember, one of the key concepts we want to do is we want to read the question. We want to read the available answers, and we want to reread what is the question actually asking me. Not what I think it's asking me. What is it actually asking me? And you'll hear me say this all the time. Always reread the question. Always reread it. It doesn't matter how fast you are, how good you are. Your nerves are going to be up during that time. You're going to be looking at the possible answers. You're going to be going through the motions. and you're just going to be like, holy cow, let me speed through this exam, right? Because I'm constantly telling you 30 to 45 seconds, 30 to 45 seconds, but we still want to take time. Now, some people ask me and they say, well, does that mean I have 30 to 45 seconds to read the question and read possible answer? No, that's your thought process. You read the question, all right? You read the answers, your timer starts, right? Then you reread the question. What is the question actually asking me? And then we answer the question. That's where the 30 seconds starts, okay? Now, that's ingrained because actually at that point you probably have a minute, right? But that's where that 30 to 45 seconds comes into play, right? Some people read questions slower than others, and that's okay. It's okay. All right, let's answer this one. If you need more time, pause the video. A security analyst receives an alert of a possible insider threat involving unauthorized access to sensitive documents. Which of the following steps should the analyst take to verify the alert? Immediately revoke all access for the suspected user. That doesn't verify anything. That's an action. That's an incident response. We're not at that stage, right? It says to verify the alert. It doesn't say to counter the problem. We haven't even identified anybody yet. So definitely not something we're going to do. Definitely not. We're not going to immediately revoke something. Could you imagine every time somebody came up to us and said, "Oh, I think Paul over there might be an insider threat. Oh, we're going to revoke their access." We'd be revoking things all day. All day. Not going to be something we do, right? We have to verify. Verify, right? Let's go down to D. Perform a full system scan for malware. Here's the thing. When I want to verify insider threats, usually a lot of times that's not involving malware, right? And it even says involving unauthorized access to sensitive documents. Could it be malware? Yeah, it could be malware. It could be, but probably not likely. Probably not likely. And even if it is, we're not verifying it that way. We're just saying that it was there. We're not verifying that there was an actual process. I mean, it's an okay answer. It really is, but it's not a great answer. It's an okay answer. Let's drop down to C. Notify the user's manager of the suspicious activity. So we're going to notify a manager every time someone suspects unauthorized access. Really? Yeah, if I was your manager and you cried wolf at me all the time, I'd be a little bit upset. So I don't think C is a good answer either. That really leaves B. Review access logs to identify unusual access patterns. Well, yeah, that's going to allow us to verify that there was an issue. It's going to allow us to verify what's going on by reviewing those logs. We can see if sensitive information was actually accessed, and if so, we can identify the IP address, and then we can backwards that down and actually identify who was logged into that system when it accessed those documents, right? So B makes the most sense. It's verification that there was actually an incident to begin with. And so B is going to be the correct answer. So the only one that logically makes sense. The other ones really don't. All right, there we go. There's B. Let's hit question number 3. A little bit longer question on this one. I know. For my last video, I moved stuff to make sure that my bright shining face was still there. I know you guys appreciate that. I know, because seeing this ugly mug on your screen, that's what you're really paying attention to on here, right? All right. Question number 3, a little bit more difficult. A cybersecurity analyst is tasked with securing an organization's critical infrastructure from an APT. The organization has experienced multiple breaches where attackers use different attack vectors and bypass existing security controls, including firewalls and intrusion detection systems. Which strategies should the analyst prioritize to defend against such sophisticated threats effectively? You'll notice, and some people might scream about this, they're like, wait a second, why are there acronyms? Believe it or not, this is typical of CompTIA. I remember the first time I took my Security Plus exam. There was all these acronyms out there, and while I knew a lot of them, I was very much not memorized all of them, right? I knew a lot of them, but not all of them. And I remember getting this question, it had all acronyms, and I could not remember what these acronyms were. I was so nervous, right? I get nervous whenever I take an exam. I don't know why, but I do, right? And so I couldn't remember the acronyms. So I took a guess, I flagged the question, I moved on, and then two questions later, it gave me the acronym. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the answer right there. And so I went back to 2 questions and then properly answered the question and then moved on with my life. And that happens. That's why we flag questions. Okay? So it's something that can happen in your own experience. I'm living proof of that. I don't know if it actually helped. I had such a high score on my Security Plus, I'm not sure it actually helped. But I passed it. That's all there is to it. All right? All right, let's answer this question. If you need more time, of course, you can pause the video. A cybersecurity analyst is tasked with securing an organization's critical infrastructure from advanced persistent threats. The organization has experienced multiple breaches where attackers use different attack vectors and bypass existing security controls, including the firewalls and intrusion detection systems. Which strategy should the analyst prioritize to defend against such sophisticated threats? Let's start with C. Conduct biannual penetration testing and vulnerability assessments to identify security gaps. Definitely something we would want to do. 100% something we would want to do. And it's not a bad answer. It's really not to conduct biannual penetration testing. Yeah, I would put that as a maybe. I put that as a maybe. Upgrade. Skip down to B. Upgrade all firewalls to next generation firewalls with deep packet inspection capabilities. I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because they've already bypassed our firewalls and intrusion detection systems. I mean, it's definitely something that we can look at, but I'm not a big fan of NGFWs. I'm really not, from various reasons. But in this particular case, when we know that the attackers have come in through different attack vectors, meaning they bypassed them, right? They bypassed security controls. I don't think B is going to be a good answer. I actually think that C is a better answer than B. I really do. And so B, not going to be the best one, I think, right? And then let's go down to D. Deploy SIEM solutions to collect and analyze log data from all critical infrastructure components. I like D. I really do. D is a really good one. And it's a good way of looking at logs and looking at what's going on. Do I like it better than C? Conduct biannual penetration vulnerability assessments to identify security gaps. I do like D better than C, where we deploy those SIEM solutions, right? That allows us to collect log data from all our critical infrastructure components. It's going to allow us to identify if there's a pattern, if it detects something wrong with the system. It's going to amp up our firewalls and IDS systems. And I like it better than C. I really do. It's a good solution. And then we have A. Implement zero trust architecture with continuous monitoring and least privilege access controls. And I really like A. Right? So we have 3 good answers on this question. We really do. But which one's the best answer? If you guessed A, you'd be correct. Why is it A? Why is it A and not D? Well, when we implement a zero trust architecture, right? When we implement that, that means we're not trusting people in our network. We're not trusting people outside of our network. We're continuously monitoring, and we're doing least privilege across the board. If you look at D, while it's a good answer, the problem is this right here. Analyze log data from all critical infrastructure components. It's only doing critical infrastructure components. It's not doing all the system points. And I think that's where the problem lies for me. That's a major issue, while I think that A is a much better answer. And so zero trust architecture, continuous monitoring, least privilege access controls, it hits the trifecta. I'm going to go with A. A is a much better solution, especially when we're countering an APT across the board. A is going to be a correct answer. There we go. All right. Moving on, question number 4, getting a little bit more difficult on this one. As part of a routine security audit, a cybersecurity analyst reviews logs from Windows Event Viewer. The following entries are observed. Based on these log entries, which of the following actions should the analyst take first? What do you think? I know, I'm going to give you some time on this one. There's a lot. There's a lot in this question. There really is. Probably one of the harder questions. All right. Let's try and tackle this one. I want to point out that this is definitely something I might see in Security Plus. It is definitely something I might see in Security Plus. And you have to extrapolate. You have to extrapolate and critically think about what's going on within the system. Let's start with that. Let's start by, well, let's read the question, right? As part of a review, security audit, cybersecurity analyst reviews logs from a Windows Event Viewer. The following log entries are observed. Based on the log entries, which of the following actions should the analyst take first? If we look at this, right, we can see event ID 4624. We can see account name admin. We see the IP address associated with it on desktop 01, right? And then we see authenticate package in TLM, and so it logged in, right? Then we see unknown username or bad password. So we see another admin trying to get into the login, and we see it did not log in, right? So we see login type 3. Admin was the account name, same workstation, but we see unknown user or name or bad password, right? And so they tried to log in with admin, but they didn't successfully log in. And then we see a user account was created. and we see a temp user, temporary user, and we give a domain associated with it. So we have this new temporary user logged in there. And this provides us kind of what's going on. So we had an admin log in, we had somebody try to log in as an admin, and then we had a temporary user that was created, all within the span, if you look at this, all within the span of what? A couple minutes, right? So 35:18, 35:23, 36:12, all within a minute. And so that is definitely something we need to look at. Let's start with D. Disable NT-element authentication to prevent potential brute force attacks. They've already gained access. They've already gained access to it, right? And based on the 3 logs that we have, where somebody logged in successfully, someone didn't log in, and then somebody created a temporary user, it's not really something that I feel is a priority on this question based on the log that we have. We can block IP address 192.168.10.5 from accessing the network due to suspicious activity. I mean, it's something we could do. It is, right? I don't know if it's the first thing I would do though, right? There could be a legitimate reason that somebody created a temporary user. It really could. And so blocking the IP address doesn't really make sense based on the limited logs that we have available to us. So I'm going to go against C, right? We can reset the password for the admin account due to failed login attempts. We could, but it could have just been somebody forgot their password. It could have been any number of reasons. It could have been fat-fingered. I mean, how many times have you typed in it? And it's only one attempt. It's only one attempt of a bad password. So it really doesn't provide us any foundation for making us reset that admin account. Is it suspicious? Yes. But why was it created? And I think that really leads us to A. Investigate the creation of the temp user account, as it may be indicative of unauthorized activity. It could be legitimate activity as well, based on the limited events that we have, based on the limited information that we have associated with this. I don't think that any of the other ones make sense. Now, after we investigate it, if we find there is malicious activity, then I think B, C, and D would be all valid responses to what's going on. But based on the log that we have available to us, A is the only one that makes sense. To investigate the creation. That's the only one that really makes sense based on the limited log availability that we have. And so question number 4 is going to be A. It's going to be A. All right. All right. Question number 5. Question number 5. Match the acronym with the definition, with the example. Right? What do you think? Go through this one. I'm going to give you a few minutes. On this one. There's a lot to go on. You're probably going to have to pause the video at some point. But I really would, if I was doing this, right, the best way to do it, in my personal opinion, is to start reading the A down to H. That would be my suggestion, right? Read the definition. Don't read the acronym, right? Read the definition, and then figure out which ones you know right off the bat, right? And once you know it, write it down. Once you've written it down, then you can kind of put it on a piece of paper and go from there. But you really want to go through them one at a time, identify what they are. Realize there's 8 of them. So you should have, 1 through 8 or A through H, and then just go down the pipeline like that. Make sure that you have them all. If I was doing this on a security plus exam, I would have that little whiteboard, that piece of paper. I would literally write down 1 through 8. And then I would be like 1A, 2B, 3C, so on and so forth down the line. And then I would answer them after the fact. That's me. It depends on how you want to do this. There's a lot going on this page. And this is why I tell students 30 to 45 seconds per question. Because when we get towards the end of the exam, we really want the ability to spend some time on our PBQs, on our performance-based questions. Because this one's going to take about 5 minutes. It really is. There's a lot going on. Even though it's just a matching question, there's a lot going on with this question, right? So be aware of that. All right. I know that you probably need more time. But go ahead and pause the video. We're going to go ahead and answer these right off the bat, okay? Let's start. All right, so let's get started on this one. A, monitors and analyzes network traffic for signs of intrusion. I think that one's going to be IDS. IDS is going to be that one right there. Here we go, IDS. Protects web applications by filtering and monitoring HTTP traffic. Well, there's only one thing on here that really monitors HTTP traffic and helps protect web applications, and that would be a web application firewall. That would be 3 right there. Then we have encrypts network traffic to secure remote access. I think the only one that makes sense for encrypting network traffic to secure remote access being the key word right there, would be VPN. VPN. There we go. Then we have D, requires 2 distinct forms of identification for authentication. We have 2 possible answers with this one, right? We have requires 2 distinct forms of authentication. We have 2-factor authentication, but we also have multi-factor authentication. But it specifically says 2 distinct forms, more than that. And while both could be correct answers, I think that if we read through it, we would see this one requires multiple forms of authentication beyond just a password, and that would be MFA. And so I think that D is going to be 2FA. H is obviously MFA, right? But let's go down to F. Prevents sensitive data from being transferred outside the network. Prevents sensitive information from being transferred outside the network. I think we can agree that that one is going to be, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped E. Monitors, logs, and security alerts for multiple systems in real time. Monitors, logs, and security alerts for systems in real time. That's going to be a C. It's going to be A. There we go. All right, now F. Now F is going to be DLP. DLP, data loss prevention. Just because nothing else makes sense. It's not NAC. And it's not MFA. We've already identified what MFA is. That means it has to be DLP. There we go. G, controls access to network based on policy enforcement. Well, that's network access control. And that means that H right there is multi-factor authentication. All right, and so that's our matching. I hope that makes sense to everybody. I hope everybody got this one. Otherwise, my name is Dr. K, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one, everyone.